The stars looked different from the observation deck of the starship Endeavour. Peter Collins stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the vast alien fleet approach. The year was 2157, and humanity was about to meet the Galactic Council for the first time. "They're bigger than we expected," said Susan Hayes, his second in command. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed worry. Peter nodded. "Size isn't everything. We come in peace with open minds and goodwill." The Endeavour was Earth's finest vessel, carrying Earth's best diplomats. After decades of searching the stars for other intelligent life, humans had finally received a response. The Galactic Council had invited Earth to join their community of worlds, and humanity had responded with excitement and hope. As the Endeavour docked with the massive Council mothership, Peter smoothed down his formal uniform. First impressions mattered. "Remember," he told his team of 12 diplomats, "we represent all of Earth today." The council chambers took their breath away. Tall windows showed the blackness of space and distant stars. Around a U-shaped table sat representatives from 20 different alien species. At the center were the Vexari, tall blue-skinned aliens with forearms and eyes that seemed to shift color. "Welcome, humans," said the lead Vexari. His name was Zexpul, and his voice translator made his words sound flat and emotionless. "We have watched your species for some time." Peter stepped forward and bowed slightly. "On behalf of Earth, we thank you for this invitation. We hope to learn from you and share our own knowledge and culture." The first day went well. The council members asked questions about Earth, its resources, population, and military capabilities. Peter noticed they seemed especially interested in Earth's mineral deposits and industrial capacity, but he didn't think much of it. New relationships required trust. On the second day, things changed. Zexpul presented what he called standard terms for new council members. "Earth will provide the council with 60% of its mineral output," Zexpul said. "You will reduce your military forces by 80%. Council representatives will oversee your world governments. These are normal requirements for young species." Peter felt his smile fade. "I'm afraid these terms aren't acceptable. Earth wishes to join as an equal partner, not as a subject world." The chamber grew quiet. The Vexari's eyes shifted to a deep red. "You misunderstand," said Zexpul. "These are not suggestions. Your species is primitive by our standards. You need guidance, protection." "We appreciate your concern," Peter replied carefully, "but Earth must maintain its independence. We're happy to trade and share knowledge, but we won't surrender our sovereignty." That night, as the Earth team discussed their options in their quarters aboard the Endeavour, Susan looked worried. "I don't like this," she said. "Did you notice how the other council species barely spoke? Only the Vexari made decisions." Peter nodded. "Something's not right. We should contact Earth, let them know the situation." When they tried to send a message home, they found their communications blocked. "Technical difficulties," explained the Vexari attendant assigned to them. "Should be fixed soon." By the third day, 5 large council warships had moved into Earth's orbit. The Vexari called them honor escorts for the diplomatic mission. In the council chamber, the atmosphere had grown cold. "You have insulted the council with your arrogance," said Zexpul. "Humans are not ready for equal status. Accept our terms or we will have to reconsider our relationship." Peter stood his ground. "Earth will not be threatened. We came in peace, but we will not surrender our freedom." That afternoon, Peter and his team were detained. The Vexari security forces took them to holding cells deep inside the mothership. "This is outrageous," Peter protested as they were locked away. "We are diplomats." "You are primitives who don't know your place," replied the guard. From their cells, they could only watch on the monitors as council ships began to move into attack positions around Earth. On Earth, people looked up at the strange ships with a mixture of wonder and growing fear. When the ships had first arrived, there had been celebrations. Now, as more vessels appeared and took up battle formations, military leaders began to worry. General Frank Martinez ordered Earth's defense forces to high alert. "Something's wrong," he told the emergency meeting of world leaders. We've lost contact with the Endeavor, and these ships are not positioned for peaceful purposes. Before Earth could prepare properly, the attack began. The Council forces struck without warning. From their cells, Peter and his team watched in horror as hidden weapons platforms secretly placed near Earth over the previous months activated all at once. Energy beams sliced through Earth's defensive satellites. Precision strikes hit military bases, command centers, and power stations across the planet. The monitors showed chaos on Earth, cities burning, defense forces scrambling to respond but falling quickly to the superior alien technology. Why? Susan asked, tears in her eyes. We did nothing to them. One of the Vexari guards laughed. You existed. Your world is rich in resources we need. Your people will make adequate workers. This is how the galaxy works. Strong species rule, weak species serve. Within hours, Earth's major defenses had been destroyed. Millions died in the first wave of attacks. The day would later be known as Dark Tuesday, the blackest day in human history. Zexpol himself came to the holding cells. Your primitives fought better than expected, but the outcome was never in doubt. Earth is now under Council control. Accept this reality. Peter lunged at the barrier between them. You won't get away with this. Humanity won't bow to bullies no matter how powerful. Zexpol smiled coldly. Brave words from a defeated species. You should be grateful we find you useful, enough to keep alive. The Earth diplomats were taken to the execution chamber one by one. As the senior representative, Peter would be the last to die. Before his execution, he was allowed one final communication with Earth. The Vexari thought it would break human morale to see their ambassador defeated. It was a mistake they would regret for generations. Peter's face, bruised but unbowed, appeared on screens across Earth. In orbit above the planet, Captain Abigail Winters watched from the bridge of the Defiant, one of Earth's few stealth ships that had escaped detection. Earth is not defeated, Peter said clearly. They've won a battle, not the war. They believe us broken, but they don't understand humans. Let them learn what we do when cornered. The transmission cut off as Peter was executed. On the Defiant, Captain Winters wiped away a single tear. Then her expression hardened. Record his words, she ordered. Send them to every surviving human settlement and military unit. That's our new mission statement. The crew stood silent for a moment. Then one by one, they returned to their stations, with new determination in their eyes. The Council believed they had won. They had no idea what they had started. 5 years passed under the heavy boot of Council occupation. The once proud cities of Earth now stood as shadows of their former glory. Alien ships patrolled the skies, and Vexari soldiers walked the streets like they owned them. In many ways, they did. Governor Zextar, the Council's appointed ruler of Earth, lived in a tall tower that once served as the United Nations headquarters in New York. From his office, he looked down at the humans scurrying about their daily tasks. The progress report, please, he said to his assistant, a nervous human named William Porter. William handed over a tablet. Production is up 7% this quarter, Governor. Mineral extraction has exceeded targets. Zexitar nodded, his arms moving in a pattern of satisfaction. Excellent, you see? Your people have accepted their place. The Council was right. Humans just needed a firm hand. Yes, Governor, William said with downcast eyes. After the meeting, William walked out of the tower with slow, defeated steps. 2 Vexari guards watched him leave, laughing among themselves about the broken spirit of humans. But once William turned the corner into an alley, his posture changed. His back straightened, his eyes became sharp and alert. He pulled out a small device and clicked it twice. A signal jammer. Now he could move without being tracked. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, 50 miles off what used to be the California coast, an underwater base hummed with activity. Built in secret before the invasion, it had remained hidden from Council scans. Inside, Dr. Samuel Grant bent over a laboratory table, studying tissue samples through a microscope. The door slid open, and William Porter walked in, removing his Face mask. The mask used subtle technology to make him appear tired and defeated to the Vexari. Sam, I've got the data we need, William said, handing over a small drive. Security protocols for the western sector, and I got close enough to Zextar to get these readings. He held up another device. Dr. Grant took the scanner with excitement. Perfect. This confirms what we suspected about their neural pathways. In another part of the underwater base, Commander Ryan Phillips studied a holographic map showing Council ship movements around the solar system. Red dots marked enemy vessels, while a few green dots showed the location of hidden human ships. Theon, Defiant is returning from the Jupiter outpost, said his tactical officer, Linda Morgan. Captain Winters reports successful testing of the new stealth systems. Ryan nodded. Tell her well done. How's the progress on the other vessels? The Shadow Fleet now numbers 23 ships, Linda replied, all with Dr. Reyes's stealth technology. The Council still has no idea they exist. In a sealed lab nearby, Dr. Olivia Reyes worked on what looked like ordinary fabric. Under special lighting, however, the material revealed complex circuits woven into every fiber. The adaptive camouflage is ready, she told her team. These suits will let our operatives move through Council security checkpoints undetected. The material absorbs their scanner frequencies instead of reflecting them. The resistance had grown slowly but steadily since Dark Tuesday. At first it was just scattered groups of military survivors and angry civilians. Now it was an organized network that spanned the globe and reached into space. The Council believed they had crushed humanity's spirit. They were wrong. On a Council communication station orbiting Mars, a human technician named Kevin Harris worked quietly at his terminal. The Vexari had found humans useful for certain technical jobs. Their hands were better suited for some tasks than the four-fingered Vexari appendages. What the Vexari didn't know was that Kevin was not the simple, obedient worker they thought. Before the invasion, he had been a member of Earth's elite cyber warfare division. Now he was Lieutenant Grace Powell's most valuable agent in the Mars sector. With careful movements that wouldn't attract attention, Kevin inserted a tiny chip into his workstation. The device would quietly map the Council's Nexus communication system without triggering alarms. Back on Earth in a hidden room beneath the ruins of Chicago, Lieutenant Powell received the data. Her team of 30 hackers and programmers worked, around the clock, unraveling the secrets of the Council's supposedly unhackable network. They're so confident in their tech that they're sloppy, Grace told her team as new information flowed in. Their security updates follow predictable patterns, and their encryption? It's complex, but not as creative as ours. The humans had discovered something the Council never expected. The alien approach to quantum mathematics was different from human methods. Where the Vexari built their systems on pure computational power, humans had developed a more intuitive understanding of quantum relationships. This different perspective allowed Grace's team to see weaknesses the Council didn't know existed. Month by month, year by year, the Resistance planted back doors into the Council's systems. Each new security update the Council deployed was studied, understood, and quietly compromised. Captain Winters' Shadow Fleet, meanwhile, ventured farther into Council space. The Defiant led these dangerous missions, mapping Council defenses and making contact with other conquered species. On one such mission, the Defiant hovered silently near a Council prison world. The planet, once home to a species called the Novat, now served as a labor camp for problem populations from across Council space. "We're being hailed," reported Communications Officer Ben Wilson. "It's coming from the surface. Resistance encryption." Captain Winters leaned forward. On screen, the face that appeared was not human. It belonged to a Novat, a being with gray skin and large expressive eyes. "I am Krell, leader of the Novat resistance," the alien said. "We have heard whispers that humans fight back against the Council. Is this true?" "It is," Abigail replied. "We seek allies who share our desire for freedom. This meeting would be the first of many." The Defiant visited 12 subjugated worlds over the next 2 years, building a network of allies. The conquered species had technologies and knowledge to share. More importantly, they had people willing to fight when the time came. Back on Earth, in Governor Zextar's tower, William Porter placed another listening device in the council chamber. The governor was hosting an important meeting with Vexari military leaders. "Earth is our greatest success story," Zextar boasted to his visitors. "From a troublesome, prideful species to productive workers in just 5 years. The humans have accepted their place in the natural order." The Vexari commanders nodded in approval. "The High Council is pleased," said Commander Kexval. "They wish to use Earth as an example for other species. A grand assembly will be held to showcase your methods." William kept his face carefully blank as he served drinks, but inside his heart raced with excitement. This was the opportunity the Resistance had been waiting for. That night, using secure channels, the news spread through the Resistance network. Dr. Grant, Commander Phillips, Lieutenant Powell, Dr. Reyes, and Captain Winters held an emergency meeting in the underwater base. "This is it," said Ryan. "They're bringing the entire council leadership together. We'll never have a better chance." Abigail nodded. "All our preparations, all our sacrifices, they've led to this moment." "Are we ready?" asked Samuel, looking at each face in turn. Grace Powell smiled for the first time in years. "The Nexus is ours whenever we decide to take it. They just don't know it yet." "The Shadow Fleet is in position," added Abigail. "Our allies are standing by." They turned to Ryan, who had become the Resistance's operational leader. He took a deep breath. "Send the word to all cells. Operation Reckoning begins now. We have 3 weeks to finalize preparations." As the meeting ended, Dr. Grant looked at a small photo he kept with him. A picture of Earth taken from space before the invasion. "Blue and peaceful. They thought they conquered us," he said quietly. "They never understood what humanity really is." The Galactic Council's Grand Assembly Station hung in space like a massive diamond. Thousands of lights twinkled across its surface as ships from all 57 member species arrived for the special session. The station orbited the Vexari, homeworld, a blue-green planet that was the heart of their vast empire. Inside the station, the council chamber was even more impressive than the one where Peter Collins had first met the aliens 5 years ago. A huge dome of transparent material showed the stars above. Curved rows of seats surrounded a central speaking platform. The air smelled of strange perfumes, and the sound of dozens of alien languages filled the room. Governor Zextar stood tall and proud, his blue skin gleaming under the lights. His forearms were adorned with medals and honors. Next to him stood Alan Foster, dressed in the simple gray uniform that human servants were required to wear. Alan kept his eyes down, his shoulders slightly hunched, the perfect picture of a broken human spirit. "You've done well, Alan," Zextar said quietly. "Your loyalty to the council will be rewarded. Perhaps we'll even let you have a small garden of your own someday." "Thank you, Governor," Alan replied meekly. "I live to serve." Alan had spent 3 years earning Zextar's trust. As the governor's personal assistant, he had access to information and systems that most humans never saw. What Zextar didn't know was that Alan had been a Special Forces colonel before the invasion. His humble servant act was just that, and how the council elders arrived in their ceremonial robes. They took their places on the highest tier of seats. Below them sat representatives from the 57 member worlds, with the Vexari in the most prominent positions. The head elder, an ancient Vexari named Kexnor, raised his arms for silence. The chamber grew quiet. "We gather today to celebrate another triumph of the Galactic Council," he announced. 5 years ago, we brought the humans of Earth into our community. Today, Governor Zextar will show us how even the most stubborn species can be taught their proper place in the natural order. Cheers and applause filled the chamber. The council members had turned subjugation into an art form over the centuries. They truly believed their rule was right and necessary. Zextar stepped up to the central platform. "Honored elders, distinguished representatives," he began. "Earth has been transformed under council guidance. Their resources flow to support our greater needs. Their people work for the benefit of advanced civilizations." He gestured to Alan. "My assistant will now present the detailed report on Earth's integration. He is a perfect example of human submission." Alan stepped forward, carrying a data tablet. As he reached the platform, he tapped a specific sequence on the screen, not part of his presentation, but a signal. Across the galaxy, Lieutenant Grace Powell and her team received the signal. In their hidden facility beneath Chicago's ruins, they sat at workstations surrounded by screens showing Council code. "It's time," Grace said. Her fingers flew across her keyboard. "Execute Operation Reckoning." Her team activated the algorithms they had planted throughout the Nexus over the past 5 years. These weren't simple viruses or hacking tools. They were elegant strings of code that used the Council's own communication protocols against them. In an instant, the intricate backdoors opened. The Nexus, the vast network that connected all Council military vessels, defense systems, and communication hubs, received new commands. On thousands of Council warships, weapon systems suddenly locked down. Defense grids across Council space went into standby mode. Personal security devices carried by Council officials blinked once, then shut off. Back in the Council chamber, Alan noted the subtle change. The small security drones that usually hovered near the ceiling had gone dark. The Vex-Ari guards at the doors were tapping their weapon controls with confusion. It was working. Alan straightened his back. He no longer looked like a humble servant. He stood tall, his eyes clear and determined. "Governor Zextar," he said loudly, his voice strong. "You said I would present a report on Earth's integration. I will, but not the one you expected." The governor turned, his eyes flashing red with anger. "What is the meaning of this? Return to your place." Alan ignored him. He faced the assembled Council representatives. "For 5 years you believed us conquered," he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. "For 5 years we let you believe it. Today you learn what humanity does when given time to plan." Confusion spread through the chamber. The elders stood up, demanding order. But then the main view screen activated by itself, showing an image that made the chamber fall silent. Outside the station, hundreds of ships had appeared seemingly from nowhere. They weren't there a minute ago, but now they surrounded the station in perfect formation. Leading them was a sleek black vessel, the Retribution, Captain Winter's new flagship. "Impossible," gasped one of the elders. "Our sensors would have detected them." On thousands of Council worlds, something else was happening. Hidden human agents placed over the years activated small devices designed by Dr. Grant. These emitted precisely calibrated signals that targeted the neural weakness in Vex-Ari biology. Across the galaxy, Vex-Ari fell to their knees, temporarily, paralyzed. In the Council chamber, the Vex-Ari representatives clutched their heads in pain. Governor Zextar staggered, trying to remain standing. "What have you done?" he gasped. "We learned from you," Alan replied calmly. "You taught us that victory comes not from fighting fair, but from striking where your enemy is weakest." The view screen changed to show Captain Winters on the bridge of the Retribution. "This is Captain Abigail Winters of Earth," she said. "Your military vessels are locked down. Your defense systems are under our control. Your Nexus belongs to us now." Another face appeared on the screen, a Novat with gray skin and large eyes. "I am Krell of the Novat," he said. "We stand with the humans." More faces appeared, representatives from a dozen species that the Council had conquered over the years. All had secretly allied with humanity. Alan turned to address the stunned Council again. "We could destroy you as you tried to destroy us. Your ships are helpless. Your weapons won't fire. Even now your precious terraforming projects are being shut down." On cue, Lieutenant Powell entered the final command. Throughout Council space, thousands of terraforming stations, massive installations that reshaped planets to Vex-Ari preferences, simultaneously deactivated. 5 years of work and trillions in resources vanished in seconds. The head elder, Kexnor, had recovered enough to speak. "What do you want? Resources? Territory?" "We want justice," Alan replied. "And a new galactic order?" Captain Winters spoke again from the screen. "Here are our terms. The Council will be dissolved. A new galactic federation will be formed where all species have equal representation. No more conquests, no more subjugation." "Impossible," shouted one of the Vex-Ari ministers. "We are the natural rulers of..." His words cut off as Alan pressed a button on his tablet. The neural disruptor signal increased, and the minister fell back into his seat, unable to speak. "Let me be clear," Alan said, looking at each council, elder in turn. "This is not a negotiation. This is your unconditional surrender. The alternative is that we use the control we now have over your systems to dismantle everything you've built." The chamber was silent. The mighty council, which had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, found itself completely outmaneuvered by a species they had considered primitive. The head elder, Kexnor, looked old and tired as he slowly stood. "How?" he asked simply. "How did you defeat our technology?" From the screen, Dr. Samuel Grant appeared beside Captain Winters. "While you focused on building bigger ships and stronger weapons," he explained, "we studied you. While you watched, our bodies work in your minds. We watched how your minds work. You never saw us as equals, so you never considered us a real threat." The head elder looked at the other council representatives, then back at the screens showing the human fleet and their allies. He knew when he was defeated. "The council," he began, his voice breaking slightly. "The council surrenders." 1 month after the surrender, the council station had been transformed. The grand chamber that once housed the Galactic Council now served as the meeting place for the new Galactic Federation. Gone were the tiered seats that placed some species above others. Now all representatives sat in a circle as equals. Captain Abigail Winters walked through the station corridors, nodding to representatives from various species. Some were former council members who had accepted the new reality. Others were from worlds that had suffered under council rule. She entered a small conference room where Alan Foster waited with Dr. Samuel Grant and Lieutenant Grace Powell. Through a view screen, Commander Ryan Phillips joined from Earth, where he was overseeing the removal of council occupation forces. "The transition is proceeding faster than expected," Alan reported. 43 species have already signed the Federation Charter. "What about the Vexari?" Abigail asked. Samuel sighed. "Mixed reactions. Some accept the change, others resist. Their military leaders are struggling with the idea of equality. Thousands of years of believing you're superior doesn't fade overnight." "They'll adjust," Grace said firmly. "They don't have much choice." After the meeting, Abigail found herself in the station's observation deck. The vast window showed the stars and the curve of the Vexari homeworld below. She didn't notice Elder Kexnor approach until he stood beside her. "Captain Winters," the old Vexari said softly. "May I speak with you?" Abigail nodded. The elder looked different now. His ceremonial robes were gone, replaced by a simple tunic. Without his symbols of power, he seemed smaller, older. "I've been thinking about what happened," Kexner said. "About how we failed to understand your species." "You saw what you wanted to see," Abigail replied. "You believed humans were primitive, because it justified treating us as inferiors." Kexnor's eyes shifted to a deep blue. A color Abigail had learned indicated sadness or reflection in Vexari. "I have been studying your history," he admitted. "Your species has faced extinction many times, yet always survived. You adapt, you endure. We should have recognized that strength." They stood in silence for a moment, watching a ship dock at the station, a vessel from one of the outer worlds bringing its first Federation representative. "What will happen to Governor Zextar?" Abigail asked. "He will stand trial, along with those who ordered the attack on Earth," Kexnor replied. "The new justice system your people helped design will ensure a fair process." 2 weeks later, former Governor Zextar sat in a plain cell aboard the station. The neural disruptors had been removed, but his movements were restricted by simple, electronic monitors. When the door opened, he looked up to see Dr. Samuel Grant enter. "Come to gloat, human?" Zextar asked bitterly. Samuel shook his head. "No. I came to ask questions for my research. I want to understand how your people think." "Why bother understanding us?" "You've won." "Because that's the difference between you and us," Samuel replied. "You conquered. We want to understand." He sat across from Zextar. "Your people ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. You could have built something magnificent. Cooperation, instead of subjugation. Why didn't you? Zextar seemed surprised by the question. After a long moment, he answered honestly. It never occurred to us, he said. Throughout our history, the strong ruled the weak. It was the natural order. When we reached the stars and found other species, we simply continued that pattern. On Earth, the healing had begun. Council buildings were being torn down or repurposed. The weapons platforms that had once bombarded the planet were now dismantled. In what was once Chicago, Commander Ryan Phillips watched a group of children play in a park that had been a council security complex just months ago. William Porter joined him, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Strange to see children laughing here again. Ryan nodded. That's what we fought for. The council education programs did a lot of damage, William said. An entire generation of our children were taught that humans are inferior, that the council's way was right. That's why we're reopening the schools with new teachers. Ryan replied. The children will learn the truth. They'll learn what humanity really achieved. Across the galaxy, the former council worlds were experiencing rapid change. Some adapted quickly, embracing the new Federation. Others struggled, especially those whose economies had been built on exploiting other worlds. On a former mining world called Taraxis, Captain Winters and Alan Foster supervised the evacuation of council overseers. The native Taraxians, insect-like, beings who had been forced to work in their own mines for centuries, were regaining control of their planet. We need more medical supplies, Alan told Abigail. The Taraxians have suffered long-term health effects from mining without proper protection. I'll arrange for Dr. Reyes to bring a medical team, she replied, and technical advisors to help them convert their mining operations to safer methods. A small Taraxian child approached them, holding up a strange, flower-like object. For you, the child said in broken English. Thank you. Abigail knelt down and accepted the gift. Thank you. What is it? Hope flower, the child explained. Only grows when good times come. Back at the Federation station, Ambassador Lisa Chen prepared for her first address as Earth's official representative. The former diplomat had been in a council prison camp for 5 years. Now she would speak for all of humanity. Nervous? Asked Dr. Grant, who had come to wish her luck. Lisa smiled. A little. It's a big responsibility. You'll do fine. Just speak the truth. When Lisa entered the chamber, representatives from all member worlds turned to watch. The room grew quiet as she took her place at the center. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Federation, she began. I stand before you not in triumph, but in hope. Earth remembers the cruelty of conquest. We also remember the temptation of vengeance. We chose a different path. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of former council members and former slaves alike. Our victory came not from superior strength, but from remembering our humanity, even when treated as less than human. We now invite all species to join us in building a galaxy where diversity is valued, where cooperation replaces domination, and where no species needs to fear another. The chamber filled with applause. Even some of the Vexari representatives joined in. 10 years passed. The galaxy transformed under the Federation. Species previously marginalized under council rule brought forward innovations that flourished in the cooperative environment. Earth became known not for its military victory, but for establishing a system where diverse civilizations could thrive together. The Vexari, stripped of their empire but welcomed as equals, gradually found new purpose. Former Governor Zextar, after serving his sentence, became an unlikely bridge between old and new. He wrote a book titled The Silent Conquest, The Definitive History of the Conflict. In its final pages, he wrote, The humans taught us the hardest lesson. Never mistake patience for weakness nor civility for surrender. The most dangerous opponent is not the one who strikes first, but the one who plans longest and remembers best. The old council chamber was preserved as a museum. School children from many worlds visited to learn about the past and the promise of the future. Above its entrance, inscribed in the languages of all member species, were the words, Power determines who rules today. Wisdom determines who builds tomorrow. On the anniversary of the Federation's founding, Captain Winters, now Admiral Winters, stood once again on the observation deck. Elder Kexnor joined her, moving slowly now with age. "Would you have destroyed us?" he asked quietly. "If we had, not surrendered?" Abigail watched a Federation scientific vessel depart on a mission of exploration rather than conquest. "No," she answered truthfully. "That would have made us like you. We wanted justice, not revenge." Kexnor nodded slowly. "That," he said, "is why you won."